Hello, everyone. Welcome to Think Your Way to an Epic Life. And today I am honored. I get to introduce you to a sweet, sweet friend of mine. She is an amazing woman. She runs a couple of businesses, has her hands in on, well, actually 3 different businesses, has her hands in on a lot of different things. And she's, in my opinion, she's Wonder Woman, and she actually even looks like Wonder Woman. And so we do these on video too. So if you're just listening, you can check us out on YouTube, check out Casa Dream Team, and you can see this beautiful lady. My dear friend Carmen, welcome. Thank you for coming.
That was sweet. That was a sweet intro.
Well, you're a sweet lady. Now, you guys have met her husband. If you've watched, don't remember the episode number, but episode number 9, I remember now. It was episode number 9, and her amazing husband, Chris, was on. And so Chris was the one that got to go to heaven and came back. And so she lived through all that. We've just got a ton of things to talk about, and we'll try and keep it on track. Talk to me about the beginning. Where were you born? What was childhood like for you?
Okay, so I was born in Mexico. At the time, my mom and dad were getting a divorce. And so right when my mom was still pregnant with me, actually. And, in Mexico, there wasn't much for my mom, especially being divorced. Like, divorce was no. But my grandparents always helped my mom and supported her, during that time. And so my mom, we went and lived with my grandparents for the first few years, and my mom realized, well, this isn't going to, I'm not going to be able to provide for my kid. So then she decided to come to the United States, and I stayed with my grandparents for a year. And then at that point, after a year, I came along too. So I was about 6 when I came to the United States. I had no clue. I had no idea of anything. I only spoke Spanish. And so it was a little bit of a culture shock. I started kindergarten, and I had to learn English my first year. And then after that, it was my mom was still learning the new language. So it was I had to be my mom's translator at my conferences. But all to say, I'm very grateful for all the sacrifices my mom made. My mom was only 26, and to come to a brand new country without knowing, a lot, or knowing the language, I don't know how she did it, right? So she's amazing. I'm so proud of my mom. She's one of my heroes. And so just with that in itself, having her do all of that, she would still send me to Mexico in the summers with my grandparents. So that's kind of how I kept my Spanish, because I can read, write, and speak fluently in both languages. I didn't go to school, in Mexico, so my Spanish wasn't the great, it's not the proper Spanish, in Mexico, which was, I always remember that movie from Selena, when the dad is saying, you have to be more Mexican than the Mexicans, and more American than the Americans, because there's this barrier, it's kind of you're figuring out your roots are from Mexico, but yet you're raised here in the U.S., so my schooling was all in the U.S. I mean, I know U.S. history. I know the national anthem. I don't know the Mexican national anthem. I know what it sounds like, but I can't sing it myself, and I know that's bad to say, but I was raised here. And a lot of people don't realize, the challenges that one faces, coming from a different country and learning and not knowing, what, especially for me, what the difference was of not being legal, when I came to the U.S. So I remember that we had a field trip in middle school, and of course, my mom didn't tell me any of this, that I wasn't legal status. And so on that field trip, we were going to go on base to Sandia. I couldn't go. And because I wasn't legal status. And so they considered me a terrorist at 12 years old, and I didn't even know, I'm why? What is this going on? So, fast forward, I think about it, I didn't understand, so I asked my mom, what's the difference? Why can't I go there? And it's because I wasn't born on this side of the river. And I was okay, still, I didn't get it, I lived here, this is my country, why can't I go to certain places or do certain things? And so it was different, and then I finally got an understanding that I don't have the same rights as everybody else. thankfully, my mom was able to get her papers, in the 80s through the amnesty that happened. And then later on, she was able to get my paper, make me legal. So weird to sound. And I think one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't understand is that, with the immigration, it's not like it's a drive-through service that you just show up here. I want to come to the U.S., come in legally. It's not. It's thousands of dollars that people have to spend, to become legal. And then there's fears. There's fear factors of like you being separated from your family. So there's just so many things that people don't realize, and I was fortunate, my mom was fortunate that she was able to get her papers back in the 80s, so that helped me. And then, fast forward as I'm graduating, like I was a legal resident at the time. And it was always my mom's dream for me to go to college, and of course, like at the time, I was like, no, I just want to get married and have kids. That was like my life goal in high school. And I got pregnant at 18. So I was 1 month pregnant at my high school graduation. And thankfully, I didn't get married. My son's dad, he cheated on me with one of my good friends. And so at that point, it was like I had nothing. I felt alone. I was going to have a baby. And I'm like, I need to do something about it, So then I decided, to go to college. My mom fully supported me. That was her dream anyways. My mom always wanted me to go to college because that was her dream too. She wanted to go to college, but she wasn't able to. Back then, she did eventually.
Wow.
She graduated in 2014. I'm so proud of her. But going back to like me, when I was there, I decided, okay, I'm going to go to college and do something for my child. And I went to school my first semester, pregnant, and I didn't even fit in the desks. Like, I had to sit sideways, like at UNM. I would wobble like, between classes, getting to classes, at UNM campus. And I thank God I graduated in 4.5 years. I took the extra, 6 months was because I took time off when I had my son. And I remember that a lot of people told my mom, don't get your hopes up. Like, college is hard. And with her having a baby, like, she's probably going to drop out. And my mom was like, yeah, okay. Like, I don't, like, she didn't say anything, But when she told me that, I was like, really? Like, that, like, fueled me. And it was kind of like, I'm going to show them, like, they think I can't do it. I'm going to show them, like, it was like, no, I can do this. And so I was happy to say, like, technically I finished college in 4 years, which other people didn't. I was the first one in my family to graduate college. So that was even like a bigger, aha too. And it was kind of like, I'm going to show you guys, like, I'm going to show the world that I can do it. When so many times people have said like, oh, you're not going to make it. You're not going to do this. It's like, oh yeah, I'll show you.
Why? Why are you like that?
I think it's because like I've always been told no. I've never had anything come easy in my life. Like, everything that I've had to fight for. And, with that, like, in part, at the time it was my son that fueled me. He was my why. He still is one of my whys, but now I have my husband and 2 other additional bonus kids, which I absolutely love. And so they're my why now. They're the reason why, like, I do what I do. They're my whole life. And again, just trying to do better, better than what I had. I want them to be able to live a better life. Not that I had a bad life, I'm not complaining. I was blessed. I was always surrounded by love. I was always surrounded by my family, which I'm grateful for as well. But I know that the struggles, especially being an immigrant, people are like, they look down on you. And a lot of people don't, I don't let that stop me. Like, if anything, it's like, I'm going to show you who I am because of it, because I'm in this country. I'm from here and from Mexico. I have dual citizenship, so you can't take that away from me. So, yeah.
Gosh, wow. What, how powerful. Of all the stuff that you just laid out there, one of the things that just keeps coming back into my head over and over again is you're 5 years old and your mommy says, see ya. Mm-hmm. What was that like?
I didn't understand. For me, it was hard. But I was fortunate that I had my grandparents, which are now gone. But they were like my second parents. And so for me, I miss my mom dearly, and my mom too. And it was hard for us, even coming here, like being the only ones here from our family. Like we didn't have our family here. And so we were separated. So like just the division and not knowing, like, how come I can't be around my cousins? How can I can't be over there, like, constantly, And, but I know that by the grace of God, like, that's how we survived. Like, I know that God always, like, surrounded us by that love. And, back in the day, Kara, it wasn't easy. Like, you can't just get on a phone or, like, on an email, like a chat and see people, like you can now with the internet. So back then, like, it was expensive to make a long distance call. I know, I'm aging myself. So, you would have to buy like little calling cards to be able to call your family in Mexico.
Dial 1010-811.
Yeah. So, I mean, now things are a little different, like you're still able to communicate, you're still able to see family, at least through a screen, but it was hard. It was harder back then, just the loneliness, and not knowing of, like, you're not surrounded by all your big, huge family, because being Mexican, most of us have big families. So
absolutely. I cannot wait to meet your mom. I already knew she had to be incredible and awesome because I know who you are. However, to hear that story, to make that decision, now that you are a mom, can you imagine when your son was 5 years old saying, I've got to go. I'm going to go give us a better life? As a parent, I would do anything that I had to. You know what I mean? Like, I know, like I was telling you earlier, like, that was for me the fuel that got me, that was my drive. But I can't imagine being a whole year without my son, so it was hard. I know it was for her. And the biggest thing too is that my grandpa told my mom before she came to the US, he said, I've known, like, what are you doing? We're going to be fine. Just stay here. We'll always have beans, you won't ever need anything. And he's like, don't go. I've seen men go to the US and come back because they couldn't make it over there. Kind of like, what makes you think you're going to make it? So did that fuel her, do you think?
I think so. I think so. And I think, that's kind of where I get my stubbornness too.
Uh-huh. Yeah, don't tell me.
She's remarkable. Yeah. I'm so blessed to have her as a role model in my life too.
Oh my goodness. It is just, so many people, part of the reason, think your way to an epic life. Mm-hmm. Part of the reason that we're doing this podcast is to show people. There are people that look at someone like you, and all they see is this chapter. Mm-hmm. Right now, all they see is who you are today.
Yeah.
And it looks so easy. Mm-hmm.
Funny you say that, actually, because a couple of weeks ago at one of my businesses, my son is working at one of them, and he came home and he was like offended, because one of the employees mentioned, not everybody rolls in Denali's. And that fueled my son. He got so upset about it. And at first I was kind of like, gosh, that's like rude. He doesn't know like my history. He doesn't know like everything that I've done in my life, but then I started thinking, well, I mean, if that's what he sees, then I mean, I can't change that, but again, if only he were like, if that's what he wants, like, it's attainable. Like, anybody can attain it, if they have the right mindset for it. So, and you have to work your butt off too. So that's the thing. Like, if you expect to just have everything fall on your lap, it's not going to happen, because like it doesn't. Like, you have to go after what you want.
So many people hate anyone that drives a really nice car. Hate them to the point where they'll key their car and do things to it. If they could see where you came from, do you think they would feel differently?
I think so. I think that, they could probably relate. I mean, I remember, I'll tell you a little bit more about my childhood. The first house that my mom bought here in the U.S., wasn't even considered a house. They sold it mainly as land. It was destroyed. That, she eventually, little by little, started fixing it up. Probably that's why I'm in real estate. I don't know. But I still remember we didn't have a bathroom, like a full-on bathroom. And we had to get the hose. And that's how I took a shower, with cold water, And every now and then it's like, oh, come on, like, can we do a little bit of hot water, like boil it, and stuff like that. But there was just so many things with that house that eventually, like, turned out really nice after a lot of, blood, sweat, and tears. But at the time, I mean, it was hard. Like, there was times I would help my mom, pay bills, and it was like down to the penny. And if we wanted something, like, we couldn't afford it. If I needed something, it was hard. And, I remember that going to McDonald's to get a hamburger, that was a luxury. And I was lucky if I got it once a month, or like the $5 brown bag special from Sonic. It was like, Mom, can we please go get this? I didn't have that luxury. That's something that, like, kids nowadays, it's just like, oh, let's just go to McDonald's, and get a hamburger or whatever. That was a luxury for me, and to me, it was something so, like, wow, like, now I look back, I'm like, ew, I don't even eat McDonald's. Like, so... Yeah, sorry.
Oh, gosh, that's awesome.
How your life changes.
how your life changes. So there are people today in our current reality right now. This may not go out immediately, so we're filming this in October, what is this, 13th? October 13th
Yeah,
of 2022. There are people today that cannot afford a McDonald's hamburger. Like, a lot of them. Our economy is in a bit of a mess, and especially in Albuquerque. What do you say to those people?
That's one of the things that we're blessed to live in a country where we have a lot of opportunity. It's just the problem is that people don't want to do it. Compared to other countries, especially like in Mexico, where there aren't opportunities. I mean, the cost of living over there is pretty much the same as here, but the wages is what we make in one day is what they make in a week. So, I mean, it's all about how you want to look at things in life. I mean, I know that wherever, I mean, even collecting cans, that's a way, like, it's not going to cost you anything, and you can turn it in and they'll pay you for that. Like, there's just so much to do in this country, but yet people aren't willing to do it. Everything, like, I know that a lot of them, I guess, like, there's fear. I think there's fear that gets in your way. And I think that's one of the things that, I don't know, like, it's hard to say, because I've realized a lot of people just don't want to do the work. And I know that so many people say that, oh, Mexicans are just coming here and stealing all our jobs. Well, there's so much work. Like, there's just so much work, just not enough people. Like, and actually, I think the unemployment rate is the lowest it's ever been right now. There's actually 2 jobs for each person here. I mean, and our economy here in New Mexico keeps on growing as well. There's just, with all the different industries, like Intel was able to, get their factory back in running again, created a lot of opportunities there. Amazon, there's also the movie industry. Facebook. There's so many industries coming into this business. It's just a matter of, like, what is it that people want to do in life? Like, that's the difference, I think, like, that we have here in the U.S. versus other countries. Like, in other countries, you have to do what you have to do just to make your next meal, whereas here, you get to decide, what do I want to do?
And so somebody listening is saying, how do I start? What's step one? What's the number one thing I need to do to get myself from where I am to where I would like to be?
I think figuring out what you want to do is the key. If it's, I think the biggest thing is start your own business. Whether it's cleaning houses, that you just need to surround yourself with the right people that are going to help you grow that business. There's also, if painting, there's painting companies. There's electricians, or, CNM is pretty, reasonable. It's a community college if you want to get something there. And plus, I know that the governor is passing to where college is going to be free for all New Mexico residents. So there's opportunity yet again, if you want to go in and learn a trade, you can do that. I got my degree in accounting, but I don't do accounting anymore.
Well, you do a little.
Yeah, I mean, I do with what I have to oversee, but again, I'll forever be grateful for my career, but it's not something that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. Like all the skills that I learned from that degree, I've been able to incorporate into my businesses now. So I think as long as you have an open mindset, always you're willing to learn, you're coachable, get a coach if you need it, and
if you need it.
Well, most people need it. Everybody needs a coach.
I know I do.
Yeah.
I
have two. You're one of them. So
yeah, I have two as well, and it's a new world. I'm looking for actionable steps for someone who is a dreamer. Let's say that they have been told you're a dreamer. You're never going to do it. You're a dreamer. How do you handle that kind of interaction?
Like if somebody were to tell me, like,
right. For the person that's out there that's a dreamer that is not where you are, but believes they can be there. Mm-hmm. That somebody who's not looking at this saying, "Oh, that rich people just have everything and all that." Somebody who's going, "Man, if she can do it, like she had more things that should have stopped her than most people. If she can do it, I can do it." Where do they start? At home? What habits do they need to change?
Well, for one, their mindset, definitely knowing that they can do it. And removing all negativity, I think, is the biggest thing.
How?
It's your mindset.
How do you remove negativity?
Don't block out people that are bad for you, people that bring you down. I know sometimes it can even be family, but definitely don't allow for those, kind of put earmuffs on, don't listen to the negative, because there's always going to be people that are going to be judging you and telling you, hey, like what makes you think you're going to do that? So don't listen to that, cancel that out. And just make sure, that if you want to do it, you can do it. And just making sure that you always stay true to yourself and always remembering why you're doing it to begin with. Because there's going to be moments in time that you're going to really question, you're going to be tired, and I love to use the analogy of climbing a mountain. I'm actually taking my daughter this Saturday because it's a life lesson. We're going to hike La Luz. And really, at first when you start out, you're like, okay, this is a new challenge. This is exciting. As you start going, you're still energized. You still feel good about it. You're like, okay, this is new territory. I don't know what I'm kind of going through. And then you're going to get to the midway point. And this is the part where it's huge because you're tired. You're questioning yourself as to why is it that you're doing what you're doing? You're going to look back down and you're going to be like, okay, I've gone this far. I can go back, but then you're going to look up and you're going to be like, I have that much more to go. Which way do I want to go? And at that point, if you keep on going, you're going to see a new horizon. You're going to see completely differently. And I think that that's when your mind totally changes, So anything in life that you do, whenever you're struggling, you're at the midway point is what I call it, So really have to evaluate what it is that is going to keep you going and making sure that you have those tools, and all of those things. So I don't know if I answered your question. There's just so many things that you can do, for one, mindset, two, surrounding yourself with people.
Surrounding yourself with people is very, very important. So the mindset piece,
mm-hmm.
Everyone has a cell phone. What do they need to be listening to?
Podcasts, books, audiobooks.
Who? What books? Give us some actionable first step, first baby one, not the hardest one, but a baby one. What's the first one?
because it's going to be bad, but one of the first ones that got me going was How to Make Shit Happen.
Right on. Okay. How to make shit happen.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a quick read. It really puts things in perspective, and it's just kind of like, yeah, okay, I can do this. Like, and then after that, like, there's just so many other books.
They can get that on Audible.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've never had Audible before, your first book is free. So
yeah, for sure.
So how to get shit done. Don't play around, guys. Actually apply.
How to make shit happen.
How to make shit happen. Okay, my bad. My bad.
So that one, Tribe of Millionaires, is also a really good one. And then any Brene Brown books are amazing. Atlas of the Heart is great too. So, I mean, all of these, as you start looking in different books, in Audible too, it'll help you. Because I'll be honest, I was not a big, I hated reading books. I just didn't like it, maybe because I was ESL,
Could be.
It could be, I don't know. But, and I hated it. So that's why I went into audiobooks, and a lot of times I would listen to audiobooks just as I'm driving. And it just helps you. Like, you pick up different things. It's like, oh, that makes sense. Like, so even if you hate reading, I recommend just doing short books. And as you start, Audible gives you recommendations for other books, so if you like a certain category, it'll give you other recommendations too. That'll help you. So,
okay.
That's kind of what I did.
I love it. I love it. That's good stuff. Okay, so listen to books, listen to podcasts. What podcast would you recommend? Any off the top of your head?
Well, yours.
There you go. Thank you.
Yours, and there's also I forgot his name. It'll come to me. There's also Think Like a CEO.
Think Like a CEO is a great podcast.
It's great. And, even though I know that's more with real estate, but I think that business is a business and it's a system that you create, so as long as you know a system, you can replicate it, in multiple, obviously you're going to make adjustments, hence why I have the 3 businesses and I'm able to replicate my systems in it. So.
Right. And so was there a time when you looked at someone who had 3 businesses and thought, how is that even possible? How could you possibly do that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I mean, Carol, I'll go back to even when my childhood, when my mom would go make payments on that house that I was telling you, she would make it in this big, tall, black building that's in Uptown, right? And back then, my mindset is wow, what would it be to work in a building like that? It was that was the grand thing. And it's I wouldn't ever be able to. And the crazy part is once I graduated college and I started, working as an accountant or an auditor, I was working right next to that black building.
Wow.
So it was kind of okay. So when, you see that, at first it seems like something so enormous, something that's unbelievable. But little by little, as you keep at it, you get there. So, yeah. So I never imagined myself being in this position, with 3 very successful businesses, thank God. But as I see it, it's wow. I have to kind of take a step back and enjoy the scenery, from the top of the mountain and seeing wow, this is amazing. You really can do this.
So audiobooks, podcasts, and then you said the people that you surround yourself with?
Yep. So people definitely is a major factor. One thing that I always say is whenever you meet with somebody, and this is something that I internally evaluate myself. After you leave with them, how do you feel? Do you feel energized or do you feel drained? Do you feel oh, the world's coming to an end, doomsday? Or do you feel wow, I can take on the world? That's what you want. You want to surround yourself with people that are going to feel you and make you feel like you can take over the world. And it's amazing because those people then start to help you and help you gain a different perspective in life. So it's very impactful, I think.
It's so important. Jim Rohn said you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. So you've got somebody who is at their bottom. How do they get around someone? How do they find these people? And then once they find them, how do they become someone those people would want to have around?
Yeah, so that was one of my challenges too, right? Because you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to approach those people. And I guarantee you most of those people are going to be willing to give you that hand, but they're not just going to come around and say, "Here, let me show you." You have to go and ask for it. You have to say, "Hey, you know what? I truly admire what you've been doing in your life. I see you're very successful at this. Can we go grab coffee? I'd love to gain some insight as to how it is that you did it." And most people are willing to do it.
Truth. We did not talk about this, but I have done that countless times. And I've never, not one time, had someone say, "No, I don't have time."
Exactly.
Why is that? Why do you think that is? And how surprised do you think most people who are not successful yet, how surprised do you think they are to hear both of us say that every time we've ever asked someone for that, they've given freely of their time and their information?
I think it's again, because when you're here and you're looking up, you're like, they're not going to look down, they're not going to come and help me, so you feel intimidated, and it's going out of your comfort zone. I know, like for me, and I had to really push myself out of that comfort zone and and just do it, like Nike says, just go out there and do it. But the reason I think that those people are willing to do it is because they were there too. They were there and somebody else helped them, helped them get to that next level. So with more reason, once you get to another level, and that's one of the reasons why I love, what I do. I also do coaching because I love that. I love being able to help people and see, I thrive when I see others succeed. It's so exciting. Even to see my own success, and see somebody else that I helped along, that to me is more rewarding than my own. And I can't even describe it. I love it, and I love when my clients tell me thank you so much. This is what's going on. And they're so excited, and they're taking their businesses to the next level. And I'm just proud mama moment, but I love it.
Absolutely. And so someone who's considering getting into coaching, this has got to be a little fascinating for them. Because I'm sure everyone has a picture in their mind of what is coaching, and that's not what they're picturing. Or they'd all get in coaching, right? Mm-hmm. So if you realize that who are you as a coach to your client? Who are you?
I'm pretty much their cheerleader. I'm somebody that's on the sidelines. Literally a professional sports player. They have coaches. So why wouldn't people that are in, businesses or even, struggling with life, why wouldn't you want somebody that's along helping you and saying, "Hey, I see that you're struggling with this," or, as you're talking with them, "Here, have you tried these opportunities? Check these things out." And sometimes it's just kind of guiding you, just like a coach, basketball coach would, saying, "Hey, you're missing your free throws. It's your stance. Let's correct your stance. And now you can do it." And it miraculously, something so simple can make a big, huge difference.
So it's basically you're seeing something from on high. I heard it described by Max Lucado, I believe, once, of if two people were down on a curb and watching a parade go by, and two other people were up in the 10th floor watching the parade, they could see a mile down the road what's coming, mm-hmm. whereas these guys just can see right. And so that's kind of what a coach is you can see what they don't see.
Exactly.
Isn't it scary, though, to open yourself up to someone else like that?
I'm sure it is.
Was it for you?
No, it wasn't for me, just because I'm an open book. What you see is what you get. And I'm always going to be true to myself. But I'm sure for other people, it might be hard because they have things that they're fearful of, and for me, it's I can, I don't know everything. I don't have all the answers, and I can laugh at it, and say, okay, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn from it. Right. And so as long as I have that mentality of saying I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to find them if I need them. The challenges that I face, I'll go back a little bit too. Even as I shifted, full time into my own business, it was scary. It was very scary for me because I had always thought no, I have to have a stable job, which was what my accounting degree was for me. It was security, and that's what I thought I needed. And when Chris, his first vacation that he went on,
His first what?
Ventrication, I call it. When he went into his coma, when 2020 happened, that was scary. When he was in his coma, like I know, you guys have seen his video, hopefully. But when that happened, I'll never, I had to take on the reins of everything, the business plus my job. Because I was still working while Chris was, we were both working the business, but Chris was full-time in the business. And my job was kind of just like, here, I have somebody for you. Like, here, you handle it on this, this end. And I'll never forget, at that moment, not knowing what was happening. We had all these transactions going, and I had to take over. And thankfully, I was licensed and stuff, and as a backup, right? But and I knew, because we would talk about the transactions and how things were going, I knew that, okay, I knew kind of what was going on. But when I stepped in, I realized everything is in that man's head, all of it. So at that point, I'm like, oh no, we got to get systems in place. We were on survival mode, And I remember, Karen, who was my TC at the time, and she's still on one of my team, on our team. She's amazing. I love that girl. We would literally be on the phone. It's like, okay, so what's happening with this? Okay, what's going on with this? And this is, of course, the pandemic. Everything's shut down. I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the real estate, what's going on with our other, my job. I was full time, and then just thinking I don't know if I can do this. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I'll never forget one of my cousins, he called me, and I love him. He called me and he's like, hey, I'm just calling to check on you, see how you're doing. And I was like, honestly, I have no idea, what the heck I'm doing. And he's like, oh, cuz, don't worry. He has a very successful business, by the way. Many successful businesses as well. And he's like, oh, cousin, don't worry. You're going to figure it out. One way or another, you're going to figure it out. He's like, you think that when I go do some of these bids, and he's like, I don't always know. He's like, but I'm going to bid it and I'm going to figure it out. And then I was like, okay, I can do this, all right. So, he pushed me to get off the ledge too, as far as thinking okay, I can do this. And I put my big girl pants on and I was like, all right, I'm going to tackle it. And thankfully, all of those transactions we were able to close.
Whew.
At the time. Yeah.
Whew. While your husband's in a coma and you don't know.
Yeah. I don't know what's happening.
Who's waking up. If he's waking up.
So.
And you kept, wow.
And at that time, Kara, I had the 3 kids at home. Well, the young adults, so having to deal with their emotional, everything's locked down. There's so many unknowns, trying to figure out what's going on. I'll forever be grateful for my Keller Williams family, I was working at St. Pius at the time, for all of them. They were all so supportive. Everybody was there and, just really coming together. But of course I couldn't cry, and I couldn't be at the hospital either with him. And I, in the day I had to be strong, for all these people that were around me. My clients were, doing this, the employees that I was working at, because I was in the business management part of the school. So there was so many moving pieces, and I couldn't just go and I wanted literally to just go under my blankets and cry, I didn't know what was happening with my husband. It was so scary. And so just in that moment, I just remember praying, my faith is what got me through, that was the biggest thing, so many prayers from so many people, but I also remember breaking down and one day, because Chris wasn't waking up, and they didn't know what was going on, and just so many moving pieces. It was so scary, those weeks. I look back at that and I think, how in the world did I survive that? How did I get through that? Because in reality, that, I just know it was God that got me through. But I know we got off topic. No, we got sidetracked.
Well, no, it's all part of the same topic. It's all part of the fact that people who have not attained any level of success that they're proud of look at people who have and think that all your problems are over. Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, didn't you? When you were on the other side and you looked at someone who showed this successful life with 3 businesses and a beautiful family, and it seemed like everything is right.
Yeah.
And you think, all of us think that everyone else has it all figured out and they're all okay. But the truth is we're all struggling with all kinds of things all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Constantly.
So everyone gets knocked down.
But not everybody gets up. So, a lot of people do. And I think like in life, like we have those choices. Like you can stay knocked down and feel like a failure, or you can get up and continue going and continue learning. Like to me, I don't consider failure as long as I don't give up. Like if I give up, that's failure. So
wow, you are amazing. Okay, so for our listening audience, what's a really good piece of advice you've gotten?
I think that the biggest thing is don't let those fears get in your way. That is the biggest thing. And also be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because being uncomfortable means you're learning and you're growing. And that's the biggest thing. And literally the last 2 years, that's been like my whole thing. Like just be uncomfortable, be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Because there's always so much new opportunities that come from it.
Absolutely. So. Well, I'm just so proud of you, and thank you so much for sharing with our audience, and I hope that everybody is completely blessed by you.
Aw, thank you.
As I know I am. Take care.
Thank you, Kara.
Thank you.